welcome to another episode of the Winging It F1 podcast. Woo! I'm Freddie Coates. I'm the host this week, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues Adam Dickinson and Nigel Chu, who I'm sure are doing fantastic. Adam, are you doing as fantastic as I'm sure you're doing?
Yes, you are correct in your assumption that I am doing fantastic. What a weekend. Wow. Six Nations, UAE Tour, on loop, Kerner Bristol's Kerner, FE, if you watch that. I don't. Preston won, which is always nice. It's just, what an extravaganza of sports that have been laid out in front of us this weekend. But no F1, but there was a Ferrari launch, so yeah.
Was any of it as good as Thursday when you tried to make me turn my lamp during the 6-hour workshop?
Nigel, that's a reference that's great for this podcast. I mean...
Probably not, because England lost the cricket. I guess they did lose the rugby as well, but not as badly, and Preston won. So
it was their worst performance against India in a test ever.
Who, the rugby team?
Yeah, the rugby team. They did terrible as the England cricket team did the rugby team. Maybe that's an explanation for why it all went so pear-shaped. But,
I know, but the cricket team hammered the Welsh rugby team, which was a bit of a surprise. Anyway.
I'm
doing good, Freddie, thank you.
Cool. Nigel, how about yourself? Let's get on to this next.
I'm very good. Just like
That's
Adam.
Cool.
Yeah. All good.
All good. Lovely. Before we get going on this random mid-launch season where there's been no new cars yet podcast, just like to say, make sure you follow us on your podcast platform or subscribe to us on YouTube. Maybe give us a like if that's a thing that's available on your platform. That would be, amazing for us, because I think we've got a grand total of about a couple of likes on this channel when the YouTube. So it would be great if we could get a few more. And this is us fishing for likes because we just want praise. So please go and please go and do that. We don't have any sponsorship deals. We can make some. We can say we're sponsored by random people. If you give us a like, we'll give you a shout out. Oh, we're sponsored by Sainsbury's Smooth Orange Juice.
Well, that was something else then, because the sunlight was, but yeah.
Or a dislike. I'd feel, if we get dislikes, I feel like we've made it even more, to be fair.
That's
so if you want to dislike it either, go for that.
Don't do that, please.
This is going to be one of those videos that gets taken down because of the proportion of dislikes. But anyway. Because it'll have 100%
let's try and get
dislikes.
The same number of likes as dislikes. Someone's done that video before, haven't they?
Oh, what? Ratio it?
Yeah, but I think if you get none of either, that doesn't count. You've got to get a significant amount of both.
So yes, please follow us. And also, if you really want to, hit a notification button, and then you can get a notification whenever we're in your inbox. Wow. Yeah, we know how to sell ourselves on social platforms because we're modern. Alrighty, now we can get going into the actual podcast, and we're gonna start talking about Ferrari, because I want to have a rant about Ferrari, because they have just had a team launch, not a car launch, a team launch, which is stupid. What's a team launch? I'll tell you what it is. It's just putting some pictures of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc and Mattia Binotto online so that people can laugh at you, and just go around and give quotes about the fact that oh, look at us, we're not going to make mistakes this year, we're going to be so much better than last year. And it's like, come on, Ferrari, you had a get out of jail free card by saying we're going to be bad this year, because that's what McLaren did in 2019, and now everyone loves McLaren and thinks they're doing really well, and they are doing quite well because they've had a change of culture. So Ferrari, why didn't you do that? That's my rant about Ferrari. Adam and Nigel, what do you have to say about Ferrari?
Why would a team manager or driver say that, though?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Wait, what? Are you agreeing with me? You're saying, why would they say we're going to have a bad year?
Bad? No one will do that.
Because then they can get everyone off their back, and that's the issue with Ferrari.
You get teams saying, like, managing expectations, don't you? Like, not saying, oh, we're going to be at the back of the grid, but saying it's going to be a development from last year's car. We want to be nearer the front or whatever. Like, I could write a, PR presentation for that. I get completely what Freddie's saying. Well, and unless they truly believe that they are going to be fighting for wins again, it seems.
It's fighting talk is what I like to see personally.
Yeah, but that's like fighting talk isn't fighting talk when it's like Manor a couple of years ago saying we're going to win the championship or something like that. Or like
No, but
BAR coming in as a team who'd never existed before saying we're going to win the championship and then not getting a point for ages in their first year. That kind of, or Lola MasterCard in 1997 saying, look at us, we're going to be great, not qualifying for Australia and never appearing on the grid again. That's stupid fighting talk, and that's what I'm comparing this to.
what? I mean,
If we have fighting talk of like Lewis Hamilton saying, I'm going to absolutely destroy Verstappen's career this season. I'm just going to hammer him so hard in every single race that I'm just going to ground his career into the mud and no one will ever want him to lead a top tier team again. Like, that is fighting talk. But Ferrari,
like oh, we're going to be good.
We all complain about how Toto Wolff and Red Bull go, oh, that team's favourites, oh, Red Bull will be closer, Mercedes are going to, they're still number one. Now Ferrari is saying this and we complain about this.
Because it's obvious that Toto Wolff is just saying it because he can say it, because the team is going to actually do a good job. Ferrari, it's basically the same you can't trust them to do a good job, so they can't say we're going to do a good job.
But also, it's the same thing. Like, one is front-running team saying they're not going to be a front-running team, and one is a not front-running team saying they are going to be a front-running team. It's
What's the difference?
There is none. That's exactly what I'm saying. That I don't see a difference between Toto Wolff saying, "Oh, we're not favourites for this race," and Ferrari saying, "Oh, we're favourites for the championship," or whatever they said this weekend or Friday. Or
I think they said they're basically trying to get third again, and I mean,
that's a good target.
It's a good target, yeah, but they can have an internal target and manage expectations of, because everything that's been going, like we all talk about the culture at Ferrari and how terrible it is, and how up until probably 20 years ago or so, they still distributed everything from the Gazettas and all of the Italian media around the factory, and everyone working for Ferrari was in a state of terror from the perception from the outside world, and that's still there. You look at the Arriva Bene days, and the key change after Arriva Bene left was to make Ferrari open so that they could have a better relationship with the outside world. And then Ferrari did terribly. So the best way to keep that open dialogue and that open that they did last year, they were shit. But sorry,
Arriva Bene. Oh right, sorry, I get you now.
Yeah, he left, and Matta Binotto was appointed, and Ferrari then appointed a lot of people from alternative PR groups from different Formula One teams, and opened themselves up, and were trying to bring a new open atmosphere into the team, which works if you kind of have that kind of dialogue, but that dialogue doesn't work when it's the Italian media. It seems. Yeah,
but what you say to the media does not relate to what happens on the track. It doesn't really matter.
Exactly. So what you say to the media can be like, oh, don't look at us. We obviously had a really bad year last year. We understand that. We're going to just manage expectations this year. We're going to try and do our best. Boring. But obviously this is yes, it's boring, but it's sensible.
Actually, you know what? No, I do like it. Go on, Ferrari. Believe in yourself. Say you're going to win. Turn up to the first race and literally go to Mercedes and Red Bull and Aston Martin and whoever. Just go to all of their like team pick boxes and garages and just be like, we're going to win, and just be like distributing flyers saying how you suck. I just do that.
What they said wasn't out of order.
I believe in you.
Oh.
It's not out of order. I'm not saying they've like condemned the Pope or something. I appreciate what they're saying. I appreciate, it's setting a target, and it's being ambitious, and it's just, I just feel like Ferrari have missed an opportunity to have a complete change of mentality at the team by sort of being sensible and calming down a bit. And you've seen what's happened with McLaren is when they came into 2019 and said, we don't think we're going to be doing great this year. And they finished fourth in the constructors, and then they finished third last year. So the whole McLaren mentality has been such a change, and such a change since Alonso left as well. And they stopped being a grouchy team of self-hate, and they became a brilliant team of self-love. And they've got Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz who helped instigate that in McLaren. They could have used that mentality to just rejuvenate the interior of Ferrari a bit more, but I feel like they've missed that opportunity.
I don't know.
I've got a bone to pick about the launch itself.
Yes, let's do that.
It's not a launch. It's not launching anything. You've got to have something to launch, and all they had was quotes. That's not. We'd already seen the drivers like working for Ferrari because they were doing tests at Fiorano on the old cars. We'd already seen that, and then it's just like, oh, we've got a team launch. What are we launching? Oh, nothing. We're just like, it's just completely random. Like, have a car, build a car, and then launch that.
They will in March.
Yeah, so just have
and that's fair enough. And you could have just said, let's do it in March. It's fair enough that they're doing it in March.
It was just a video. It wasn't like, there wasn't any live content. There wasn't anything. It was just like, oh, we're doing a team launch. And then they just uploaded a video. Like, how many times have they uploaded stuff to their YouTube channel? Like, it's literally, it's just...
I mean, is it even a talking point?
Yes, it is. Because me and Freddie are both talking about it. Yes, exactly.
I think the reason so many people get annoyed at Ferrari, at least I count myself in this group, is because everyone's a Ferrari fan. We all want Ferrari to do fantastically.
Adam isn't.
Adam isn't a Ferrari fan, but that's fine. The majority of people
I want them to do well. I want them to be competing. I just don't want them to win.
Because they're an institution. You've got to respect the fact that they're an institution of Formula One and of motorsport and of Italy.
You kind of become a close second.
You can get you can get drawn into the hype of the heritage. And I'm making a good point with big words, Adam. Stop laughing. I said hype of heritage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
4 letters. Wow.
It's 2 letters. It's great. You can get drawn into the whole mentality of just the success and history of Ferrari, and that kind of, like, as a Formula One fan, I find that sort of romantic, and that's kind of why I like Ferrari and want them to do well. And it just infuriates me when they are idiots.
Anyway, Nigel's got some Binotto news.
I have, yes. Binotto has said that he's not going to travel to all the races this year. He's going to miss a few events. Not sure who's going to take his role when he's not there. He missed a couple of events last year, didn't he? Because of COVID, I think. But this year he's taking it.
No, he didn't. He didn't miss of COVID. He did what he's doing this year, and he was taking more of a hands-on role at the factory, because he is the technical chief as well as the team chief.
It was like one where they did really well in. Was it Turkey?
I can't remember which.
Because then there was a load of stuff coming out about like the one that he doesn't go to, and they get like 2 cars in the top 4 or something like that.
They got a podium. Yeah, it's great. They nearly got a double podium, didn't they?
Have to get 2. If you're going to get 2 cars in the top 4, you have to have got a podium. You can't like finish 4th and 5th, because that's not.
I know. I'm building on your points. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying, yeah, it's good that they got a podium. You absolute melt. Anyway.
Yeah, Binotto, you absolutely
fiery Freddie this morning.
Well,
what he's going to call me.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. Laurent Mekies is the guy who took over the team then, so that he'll be the guy who'll take over the team. As the sporting director, will do it basically the same thing he does, because Binotto just sits there and wonders what happens anyway. So.
Oh wow!
You can do that for Maranello.
Wow! That is.
We were talking about fighting talk, and we've got it right here.
I know.
Well, that's the thing, because that's Laurent Mekies' job. Is he's a sporting director, so he controls the majority of what happens.
Directs the sport.
Binotto's there from a technical perspective and from a slightly more senior perspective, but that's about it. To be honest, they're more of a partnership.
A bit like us. A bit.
Yes, we're a partnership, a trio.
Exactly like a
trio. Yeah.
Anyway.
Was that all you were saying, Nigel? Okay.
Yeah, that's all, one word. Yeah.
I remember writing a piece like in maybe Magello or something like that. Like, under pressure, Binotto fires back at critics or something. And that was quite fun. And then they just had another bad race and then carried on as normal. Wasn't anything else to that.
The Gran Premio Tuscan Grand Prix Ferrari 1000 Grand Prix Formula One.
Premio Toscana de Ferrari a Cent'Emilia. That's probably 100,000, but I don't speak Italian.
1000th Grand Prix. Yeah. That's actually an interesting point. The Imola race this year is going to be called the Pirelli Made in Italy Emilia Romagna Gran Premio del Formula One, whatever.
That's ironic, as it used to be the San Marino Grand Prix.
Yeah, and they've given it basically 2 title sponsors, which is Pirelli and Made in Italy, which is
Wait, is Made in
not
Italy
even.
a brand?
I think it's kind of like, in the UK they have sort of innovation is great and all that kind of vibe of sort of British in engineering and stuff like that. It's that kind of push in Italy, I think. But it's not in Italian. It is actually called Made in Italy. So it's trying to push out Italian brands to the rest of the world, such as Pirelli or Imola, I guess. I don't know. Just think about Italy, basically, is what they're saying.
I always do.
Always.
Thinking about it now because we're talking about it earlier when we were talking about Ferrari or Italy. Gazzetta della Sport, if that's its name. It's on the front of the Maglia Rosa in the Giro d'Italia. Just there. And the purple one as well, but I can't remember. Is it the Ciclamino? Can't remember.
Ciclamino.
Yeah, I know. It's a fantastic name.
It's Italian. It's just a great language.
Yes, I agree.
Prego.
Similar to Spanish, I found.
Oh,
Spanish comes from, but Spanish derives also from Arabic.
Oh, really?
Back there, yeah, because they invaded. Charlemagne defeated them, but I can't remember how far. I know they got into Spain and held on to bits of Spain for a while, and they had that's why a lot of Spanish architecture is like Arabic-y, and they have kind of
Arabian
temples and stuff. Yeah, and then I don't know if they got into France. I can't remember. There was a big battle, and if the
That's cool.
Muslims had won, then a lot of Europe would be Arabic instead of French deriving. But they didn't.
Oh. How did you learn that?
Listen to a audio book of the Little History of the World about 10 years ago, and they talked about it.
Wow. 11-year-old Adam, 10-year-old Adam listening to that.
Yeah, exactly. It was all part of
History's
the
great.
Dickinson-Allenson household. It is, I like history, but I didn't do it at uni because...
History at uni ruins the story.
Yes.
And just becomes a study of historians.
Well, no, history at uni is did history happen? Or it's they don't teach you about stuff that happened. They teach you the question whether stuff happened or why stuff happened or whether it happened.
Who is the real Robin Hood?
Yeah.
Is King Arthur alive today?
Yeah, except not.
No offense to any history university lecturers watching this, which I'm sure there aren't any.
Our big demographic of history lecturers watching this. We're sorry.
That's who we make it for. We've got all the stats for our Spotify listenership, and it all says they're history lecturers.
Well, that's one of them.
We have all that information on you guys. Give us a dislike.
Well, it's there's all the stats, and then at the bottom there's just percentage of people who are history lecturers and percentage of people who aren't. That's just the only one. So we don't have any
surprising amount of people from Malaysia as well. So thank you very much to our Malaysian listeners. We actually really appreciate you. That's great. We've got quite a few global.
Oh wow.
Global countries. We've got USA. I think we've got a good few Netherlands listeners. At least by which I mean, double digits of listens from these countries. So that's pretty sweet. And soon next year, Adam is going to be in America, so he's going to be painting us on billboards out there and making sure that every American is a Formula One nut by the end of
I'm going to be out there this year. About
not long.
7 months, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah,
you're the one going, mate.
I certainly am.
As long as you get there on time, I'm sure it's fine. May as well go next week. All right, let's move on to another big thing that is coming up in the next few weeks, which is, Adam's got a theory on it, but every Formula One fan seems to be very up for Drive to Survive. Season 3, the report on the 2020 season, the presumably 10 episodes still, is going to be coming out. What storylines do we think are going to be given top billing for this year's Drive to Survive then, guys?
whatever they filmed.
Be a whole episode on Grosjean.
I expect a whole episode on Grosjean. I think that would be quite a
impactful.
Impactful. That's a good word. Yeah, definitely.
Nigel, what did you say? Oh yes.
So, for sure, they're going to talk about Norris's first podium. I know that will be an episode because they're filming that. But I think they've not really talked about Hamilton much in the first 2 seasons. I don't think so. I think it'd be good to have an episode about him.
I think there'll be
because he is ultimately the 7-time world champion, and he had some great performances last year, as we know. So I'd like to see something on.
Well, I think there'll be 2. I think there'll be one on kind of his activism or kind of him as a person, and then there'll also be one like on Turkey that's based around him.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a whole episode to the first one, if that sort of covers all the sort of coronavirus, covers activism, covers the change. I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't have any sort of Formula One action in that per se, and just dedicated that to the change in the world that was going on, and obviously tie it in with coronavirus and how Formula One reacted to that. I think it'd be very interesting to see what we get behind the scenes in the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That would be, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get much, to be honest, because that was all overnight meetings in Melbourne in a hotel somewhere. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear much from that, but we'll obviously get a little bit of an insight into what happened in factories, and presumably Project Pit Lane, where they created ventilators in the UK factories at least, and in Ferrari for hospitals treating COVID patients around the world. And that was a fantastic situation. I really think that will be done justice as well if it is included.
There'll be one on the Red Bull and AlphaTauri drivers on kind of Albon going downhill and Gasly going uphill, and kind of culminating in the Italian Grand Prix. There'll be and then there'll be another one on, because there's always like a driver decision-y one that'll be the Aston Martin carousel, and then probably the next one after that will be the Red Bull, and then finish with.
You just know there'll be a black screen at the top. A black screen.
Or maybe there'll be a Perez one. Maybe there'll be a Perez one about him.
Definitely be a Perez one.
Not like thinking, I'm gonna have to retire and all of that, and then it'll be like at the last minute, and then he'll like winning Sakir, and then it'll be and
Perez's year was probably one of the most interesting of 2020, in that the car was great, but there were so many mistakes, and then he got coronavirus and missed a couple of races, and then he came back and then started to perform again, and then lost his seat, and then had to fight for his seat, and then he won a race, and then he got a seat after the end of Abu Dhabi. And that the whole perspective definitely from Perez and Albon about fighting for that seat and trying to do their best and going all the way down to the wire, and sort of seeing the reaction from Albon maybe when Perez wins, I think will be very interesting. And you just know there'll be a black screen that comes up that says Alex Albon did not retain his seat for 2021, and they'll play it in the big emotional tearjerker of the season. Nigel will cry
with joy. No, joking.
It's a weird one because, like, normally, or in the past few years, it's kind of like that person who gets a podium who's not likely to is like kind of quite a big story. Whereas this year, there's like been so many. It's like Ocon. Like, will they do one on? Like, you know, there's. I don't know. If you were doing one kind of based around every midfield driver who gets a podium, that'd be your 10 episodes filled up right there. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they navigate that. There'll almost certainly be a Haas one, just because they know that people like that. But it will be very interesting to see how they manage that, especially stuff towards the
there be one on Alfa Romeo though?
The season. I don't think so. I was just thinking about which cars will get. Which cars or which drivers will get like snubbed a bit, and I think that Latifi, they probably won't do much on him.
Oh, bless him.
Mick Schumacher, there'll definitely be stuff on him.
There'll be mention of him. They've obviously had the F2 Chasing the Dream documentary that came out on F1 TV a month or so ago, and that's a sort of 5-part F2 Drive to Survive-esque thing, but it's more of a season review than Drive to Survive is, if anything, but it just gives a few more really quite interesting interviews. And they've done a lot with Mick Schumacher there, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that sort of gets carried over into the end of I reckon they'll close with the Grosjean episode. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the final one. And if
I
he
hope
has some Mick Schumacher in that one.
I hope they replay the what was it? The like Renault when they do stuff about Renault. I hope they replay the eventful Horner scene. No, you do not have a driver. You're looking for a new driver, and you're looking for a new engine. Like,
that's a really good point, actually, because the Honda storyline, Honda leaving Formula One again. Will we see a lot of that from a Red Bull perspective of like, because their whole Honda relationship has been played out on Netflix.
I think there could be two like kind of Red Bull / AlphaTauri episodes then.
It feels like we want a 20 episode season.
We could easily do it.
And from what they've had in the past 2 seasons, and the access they'll have had this year will be very interesting because they've had to basically pair it with the teams as like a COVID bubble on the weekends they've been with them. So it's not as malleable as filming as it could be, but obviously they're going to have the interviews and the way they do that, and they know what they're doing. And I think the way Drive to Survive has sort of been played out in the past few years, at least past 2 seasons, has been like the races they're dedicated to certain teams, and then they'll pick on the storylines around then. And like you look at it's purely luck. The Hockenheim 2019 and Monaco 2019 were the 2 focuses for Mercedes, really. And it's purely luck that was when Mercedes capitulated basically and combusted.
Pretty well in Monaco.
Not Monaco, Hockenheim. In Monaco, they had. I know
it wasn't. They missed a 1-2 for the first time in the season, but Lewis still won.
It was the Lauda, wasn't it?
It was the Lauda storyline. It was the impact of the on the team, really. But yeah, they did really well in Monaco. I think with the way they then tied that in to the Hockenheim storyline, it feels more. It's obviously luck and judgment because you're not going to know which race people are going to perform at. But
they were following Russell at Sakir, so
I don't think they were. I think Mercedes came out and said they weren't. It was a rumor that got traction, but I think Mercedes said they weren't. So I think they might have been. They were obviously around, but I don't know. They obviously were, but I think they were with Racing Point because I think they'd been covering Perez the week before. So I don't see why they would switch bubbles.
They were sticking a camera
like
in Ocon's face at the end because the TV coverage picked up on that.
Wow.
Where they were, I was like, oh, Ocon's had Ocon, and then it was like Netflix. Yeah.
Ocon had a really interesting season in that he was brought back in as the big young shot who did fantastically.
He was one of the big storylines from season 1, wasn't he?
Yeah, how he lost his seat, and how he came in and then was wiped the floor by Ricciardo at the start of the season at least, and how he gradually got better and better and better. And I think they're going to focus on the recovery of Ocon quite a lot and sort of not breakdown, but argument he had on team radio at the end of the Italian Grand Prix, where they basically shut him down and said, "We're not going to talk about this on the radio. We're not going to talk about this now. Shut up, Esteban." Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot about that and about sort of his recovery from after that, because from after that he got closer and closer and closer to Ricciardo, and in the final few races of the season he was matching his qualifying times, not his race pace granted, but his qualifying he was there or thereabouts by the end with Ricciardo, which was it was glossed over a bit, but it was interesting to see. And he's damned for this 2021 as Ocon from both angles. If he beats Alonso, Alonso's past it and Ocon's just coasting. And if he loses to Alonso, he's lost to Alonso. So
I don't know.
I don't really know where Ocon goes.
If he beats Alonso, his stock's still pretty high.
Yeah.
I'd say
but
so.
It's an Alonso who's been out for 2 years, and the Rosberg Schumacher stuff.
Look at Russell after he beat Kubica. He was still highly rated after that.
There's a big difference. Yeah, this is going off topic now, but there's a big difference between the Schumacher comeback and Alonso comeback, I feel. Shall I elaborate or?
Go for it, elaborate.
I think you should elaborate. Is
Okay.
one because Drive to Survive wasn't a thing in 2010? Or
Well, the Schumacher comeback, it would have been interesting if it was a thing, especially with 2010 to know. But yeah, the Schumacher comeback was different for many reasons because the regulations changed a lot from 2006 to 2010. The cars got a lot slimmer. The cars looked completely different. You couldn't push all the well, he could in 2010, but
Slick tyres,
the
not
driving
grooved.
style was completely different. Groove tyres, slick tyres, yeah. Whereas Alonso from 2018 to 2021, the cars, yes, there's been a few changes from 2019, but the cars are a lot more similar. Schumacher also had a motorbike accident because he did some Italian superbike racing in 2008, I think, and he got injured. He broke one of his vertebrae, which is a lot more serious than what Alonso's accident a few weeks ago. And he never really fully recovered from that. I don't think people really talk about it, or they forget that Schumacher had that motorcycle accident, which did affect him. So, I don't think you can really compare the comebacks. I think they're entirely different to me, anyway.
That's a really good point, actually, Nigel. Yeah,
I've got
that makes a lot of sense.
I think my big take on Drive to Survive is how it seems like people get more hyped for that than they do for like the start of the season or their home Grand Prix.
I think for me, the perspective of that is the hype for Drive to Survive sort of piggybacks the hype for the start of the season because it comes just before, and it's the hype that we know what's happening. We know the big bits of last year are going to get played out, if that makes sense. So we're excited for things that we found exciting again. Does that make sense?
It does. It just seems like quite a weird way. Or, when you just think about it like that, it seems quite a weird situation for kind of a sport to be in. And the kind of documentary about the sport is kind of as big as the first race itself, or I feel like certainly the People's Domestic Grand Prix.
Well, I think it's done its job if it does feel like that, because people are so hyped about it, and I think that shows that it's been a massive, massive success, probably a bigger success than F1 4. So if people are thinking like that, oh wow, we can't wait for this, and they're looking forward to it more than an F1 race itself, I think that's only a good thing for the sport.
I think so. I think it's a great thing. The amount of friends I've had who, knew I liked F1 but didn't really know anything about it. They knew who Lewis Hamilton was, who have since watched Drive to Survive and have spoken to me about it and said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to the next race now." Is ridiculous.
I think that's the
it's
big
mad.
thing.
The amount of people who have become Formula One fans and think, there is so much drama here. This is amazing, and it is there throughout the season. It's not that it's played out slower because it's played out over a year, not in 10 hours, but it is there throughout the season. And so many people have come into the Formula One world, and I think that's fantastic. And I think, there's a whole sort of culture on Twitter, which is really weird. Sort of DTS fans and people saying, "Oh, you're just a fan of Formula One because of Drive to Survive." And it's like, if you're a fan of Formula One because of Drive to Survive,
that's a great thing.
Fantastic. Yes, that's exactly why Drive to Survive is for. And you've stuck around. You've come to Formula One and you've thought, "Wow, this is amazing." And we're here talking about Formula One. We're here loving Formula One, and we I've loved it for a long time.
We all came because of Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
We're lucky. I feel lucky that I've been a fan for ages, to be honest, because if you're not exposed to motorsport, you're not really going to watch it so much.
Especially as it's all on Sky.
Especially as it's all on Sky.
Yeah, the paywall is a huge thing. Yeah,
and a lot more people have Netflix than have Sky Sports for one.
So it's a massive deal. And it's fantastic, and it is really. I know, what's going to happen, and you can look at pinicky bits and go, "Oh, well, that picture of the track is not where he is, and the gear shifts are different, and that kind of thing." And you can look at that if you're a massive arsehole nerd, like I am, but also you can
the
just
last
sit back
one, not the former.
Thank you. But you can.
What if they do just change it up? What if they're like, "Oh, actually, like." Albon won the Saki Grand Prix or something. What if they just did that? What if they just, everyone knows what to expect, but they say expected, which is the worst marketing tagline ever. But they say that. What if
really the tagline?
Oh, not for this. I just mean generally. It's a thing that's bandied around. But what if they're just like, "Oh, the unexpected is actually that it's something that you thought happened, actually doesn't, and we're just going to put something else in instead." That'd be quite fun to.
It's like, well, it went to edit. What can we say? We just sent it off to Netflix. You were the guys who wanted to watch it. We could have waited and made it correct.
I think Buxton as well. because he had a bit of a rocky year in some situations, which they probably won't touch on. I think it'll be interesting.
It's not a documentary about Buxton. If it's a documentary about Will Buxton, then they can they can get in a bin.
I mean, obviously they won't go into his like trials.
He's had one or two Twitter spats, basically.
But he's kind of the main figurehead as a journalist, and kind of he's the closest thing they have to a narrator in it, kind of talking through what's going on or giving context outside of teams for what's going on. So I think it will just be interesting to see what he has to say for it, really.
He's just there to stir the pot, and I think he does quite a good job of it, really. He stirs the pot and just makes everyone out as like, a demon and that kind of thing. And I seem to remember a bit in the Williams episode, he goes, bye bye Paddy, when Paddy Lowe gets basically forced out of Williams. You just kind of think, you're just there to make, you're just like Ian Sterling on Love Island, Will Buxton. That's what you're doing.
When Paddy Lowe comes in with like a cup of coffee for Claire Williams. Yeah. He's like, there you go. Hello,
hey Claire.
Had a nice night. And she's just like, you are dead.
Yeah. And then he says in an interview,
in the Haas versus Renault one, where it's like, Renault is like the old French regal establishment, and Haas is the new world, and it's got like Kevin Magnussen going around in like a dirt car on a dirt oval track.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to Drive to Survive season 3, and they've been renewed for a season 4, and I'm looking forward to Drive to Survive season 4. So I think it's a nice sort of take on a review of the season that just kind of brings you back to the drama and does make it more dramatic. And that's why people love the drama of it. They get caught up in in the drama of last year, and it carries over, and people just really enjoy that extra detail you get with Drive to Survive that you don't get when you're watching it on TV, even with the amount of access Sky have and the amount of access the Paddock Pass YouTube people have. Like, that's all on the ground on the day, but you don't get the access that you get from Drive to Survive. And it's just a pure love for the sport that makes people so excited for it as well, basically, I think. Do you guys have anything else to add on Drive to Survive?
Nope, literally nothing.
Like I said before, it's done exactly what it's needed to do in terms of marketing, in terms of the fan base for F1. And I can see it continuing at least for the next 4 or 5 years, if not a lot longer. And I think it's probably one of the best things F1 has done in terms of marketing since Liberty have come into the sport, I'd say.
I'd agree with that, definitely. And season 3 comes out, I think, in about 3 weeks. I think it's March 19th. I want to say. Yeah. March 19th. And that is the week before the first Grand Prix, the Friday before the first practice session. So we'll probably be doing an episode where we have all binged it and have a few things to say about
live stream of us binging it.
Oh, right. Who will watch
start
that?
At the same point? No one.
And we'll get taken down by Netflix for live streaming Netflix.
We just live stream our reaction to it.
Yeah, we can talk about our reactions to it. We can do a big sort of what's our favourite bit, what bits made us really feel weird, what bits made us feel emotional, what bits made us feel scared, every emotion you could get from Drive to Survive, and we'll spill the beans about our emotions after that. Not only do we have that I've just decided we're going to do, we've got a few good things coming up for this podcast. This is our second season of the Winging It F1 podcast, the 2021 season. We started on the eve of the 2020 season, a week before the Austrian Grand Prix, with our season preview then. We're going to be doing some season previews coming up for this season. We have obviously got a few more car launches coming this week. We've got Mercedes, we've got Alpine, we've got Aston Martin. We eventually have the Ferrari on Friday, I think. I think we've got an online Haas, and we got Williams. So we're basically closing up the Formula One grid now over the next week or so. On the back of that, we're going to do a little video giving all of our opinions on what we like, what we don't like, what we think looks good, what we think looks boring, why we think the Haas shouldn't be grey and why we think that's a terrible colour for a Formula One car. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be grey. It's going to be grey. It's going to be dingy and grey.
Like in Cars 3 when Lightning McQueen's just sitting there with like primary grey on. Just sat there being sad. He's going to get hammered in the next season.
Yeah, grey.
Grey, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one actually. We're all clearly very fashion conscious and good designers. Very involved.
I've done my hair today.
Graphic design community. So
I was waiting for that.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one really.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our predictions as well when we try to. I've just thought of this when we say who's going to be like 1 to 10 in the championship and who's going to win, who's going to be third and everything. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
We seem to have committed to giving a extremely out there bold prediction for every team, and I'm quite looking forward to carrying that on and seeing what we say about like Haas or something, and just say like, what can we say that's out there about Haas? Because they're just not going to score any points.
There's quite a lot we can say that's out there about Haas. I think it's
out there is that they have a good race.
Like Ferrari, there's probably lots we can say there. Mercedes, I mean, how out there can you go with Mercedes? I don't know.
That they lose?
Yeah. But yeah, I think that I quite like the hot takes, really.
I do.
And you get a good range as well. It's good.
Yeah, it's better than just saying, I think this car will finish 10th because it is the middle car. And that's just, that's
well, that is F1, isn't it, to be honest?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I was saying, why didn't you say that, Mattia Binotto, earlier on? No one's happy. I'm never happy. I'm going to be not happy. But also, I find them exciting.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking forward to kind of seeing how it develops as well. I mean, our podcast develops over the season. Because I think if you look back and kind of some people I've spoken to about it who've been watching for a while have kind of said the same, that you know, it's like a very clear difference from when we started in end of June to now, and it kind of wasn't a like given. It was something I think we'd all had kind of in our minds for a while that we wanted to do one, but we'd never actually like taken that step to do it. And I think it would have been quite easy to not do it and just, you know, like let the start of the season go by, and then once that happens, that's kind of it. You can't, you know, it's kind of a lot harder to pick up halfway through a season.
You're right. We got to the final week of being able to start it.
Yeah.
And just took the plunge, just went and did it, because it had been something I'd been talking about with Adam separately and Nigel separately for a good month prior to actually doing
I've been talking about it with Nigel as well. No.
And yeah, it was just a thing that was, you know, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a nice idea. That's a nice idea. Oh, we've got a date for the start. Oh, it's the first weekend of July. Oh, that's cool. All right. And then it got closer and closer and closer. And we hadn't done anything yet. And so we just sat down one day and did the podcast. And then a couple of days later, did another one. And we figured out, yeah, we can do this. We want to do this. We all enjoy this. And I think you're right, Adam. Not that our rapport has developed, because I think we all got on quite well before.
I'll admit there was a slight awkwardness on my behalf, like the first episode.
There's still a slight awkwardness on your behalf, Nigel.
Yeah, it's a different type of awkwardness.
Yeah, but yeah, it's there's been obvious development in the way that we do a podcast, frankly, and yeah, I've been really, really happy with how we've done it. If you look back, I'm never going to watch our first episode. I'm never going to listen to that because and I recommend that no one does.
Go watch it. Go watch it. It's still there. It's still on YouTube. It's now still on Spotify.
Like a ceiling sort of right on his head.
Yeah, well, I was in my bunk bed because I didn't really have anywhere else to do it in the house. So I was like in my bunk bed. Yeah, it wasn't the best, but go and watch it. Go back and watch it and give it a like or a dislike.
Go on, watch them all from the beginning. Do it as a binge.
Yeah, we'll have to
a long time to wait till Drive to Survive. Why don't you watch it in real time? And if you really want to, watch the Grand Prix after watching our preview, and then watch the review. So think of it like that. That's, say we've got 19 days till Drive to Survive. there's 17 races. You can watch a preview in the morning, you watch the race at lunchtime, and you watch the review in the evening. Done.
Freddie, you don't have to give out your plans for the next few weeks into our audience.
That is actually what Freddie is doing. He's just sat there.
Yeah, when I said I don't actually watch, don't want to watch it back. I do want to watch it back. I'm really self-indulgent, and I just adore seeing my face. So
just because there's no formulary until April doesn't mean you have to do that.
No formulary until April.
Yeah, but no, I think I'm looking forward to how that goes, and hopefully it'd be nice to do one somewhere on location. Doesn't matter where. It could just be outside. But
that's a good goal.
Outside.
That'd be quite nice. It'd
be nice to do a podcast where the three of us aren't all in our boxes, and we can have a sort of a podcast that's recorded in person, a podcast that's recorded with one camera and 3 microphones somehow. I mean, we're going to have to figure that one out when we come to it, but it'd be really nice to just do a podcast that's, how a podcast would have been before we started doing podcasts. We've only known COVID podcasts, and I think that's, it's going to be really interesting to figure out, how do I edit a podcast that I've not downloaded from Zoom, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also a big thank you to our 5 or 6 guests we've had over the 57 episodes. And if anyone does want to be on a future podcast, do let us know. If you do.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another thing, kind of expanding our podcast network. And I don't know, with me going away to America, I'll probably have to sub in and sub out a bit more, especially for race reviews. So apologies anyone who just listens to the podcast because they're a massive fan of listening to me, but you'll still have the other podcast to listen to.
We're gonna lose half our viewers just because you've gone.
Adam's gonna start a vlog series.
Just start his own podcast
while he's there, and you can go and watch him over there. It's not going to be like Ted Kravitz's notebook. It'll be Adam's notebook. He'll film himself walking around a street in America for half an hour, talking crap, and that will probably get a bigger viewership than this in a week.
Well, that could be something I could add on to the thing. We could do like a separate video, like Adam's post-race notebook. It could be just asking Americans at well, I mean, if a race happens in Europe at 1, then I think that'll be like 7 a.m. in America. So
you're gonna have a lot of early starts. It's as if you're not gonna be able to watch F3 or F2 because they're gonna start like 8 or 9 UK. I watched them. They start like 8 or 9 UK time, so that'll be when you're coming in from your bar, from your sorority parties or whatever.
Yes, all of them. Every Saturday evening,
or whatever he's called.
I won't be able to buy alcohol for half the year, more than half the year actually. So,
I'll be drunk. That's the crime. Nigel and I will be here getting absolutely wrecked doing these podcasts because we can't. Yeah, I've got a cider on my desk. It's 12 o'clock. It's midday, and I haven't.
You just need editing it out on the
you
video.
don't see
you watch this on YouTube and you won't see the swigs because he edits them out. You'll just think he's frozen, but every time he freezes, just like that. And then he's like that, and then it just carries on. Yeah.
Oh, the Zoom call's ended. Quick, I'll down this cider. Quick,
I'll get another one. You downed one as well. Bloody hell. Go on.
Well.
Seshed Fred.
I'll take it. Yeah, we got a lot coming up. We're very excited for this podcast.
I'm excited.
I think we're all very happy with it. We're all very happy with our podcast, and it's really nice to share it with you guys. I'm really really happy that we have this thing that's ours.
And I was thinking about that kind of because when we started, we talked about whether we were going to get it affiliated with a website or whatever, and kind of go down that route. And at the time, I thought that would be best, in terms of getting views and stuff like that, and getting a bit of a bigger name for it. But actually, I quite looking back now. I really like that it is just kind of our thing that we do, and we kind of do when we want to, and we do it because we want to do it. Like, you know, it never kind of feels like doing work. So if I look back on a day where I've like not got much kind of writing done or uni work done, and I've done a podcast, kind of, it won't feel like I've done work on that, because it just feels like, you know, I've just sat here talking with two mates, and that's really nice. And I do like that element of it, and that we don't have to do it, but that's why we do it, because we enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah. I don't see this as work at all. Same with, you know, writing over the last few years. It's just a bonus to viewers and the numbers and stuff. Like, but just, I just think it's something kind of to look forward to, especially over the last 12 months being a pandemic. But yeah, everything else is just a bonus. But yeah, I love it.
It's just a lovely kind of, to me, it's kind of importance of sort of having it as ours, and this only really come like you say. I kind of agreed, like it might be nice to affiliate it with a website at first, and we might be able to then make it more than a decent sized podcast, like an audience for the podcast. But since then, I've sort of come to terms with, we all write for websites that aren't ours. We all will write for publications that just aren't ours, but this is entirely our thing. It will always be our thing unless someone comes over and tries to buy it and gives us a ridiculous amount of money, and we go like,
which if there is,
if there is anyone out there, please DM us on Twitter or email us at wingingitf1podcast@gmail.com.
we charge a competitive competitive rate that we won't disclose here, but only serious investors, please.
And I think also not kind of answering to anyone, or there's no one. People don't message, can you do a podcast to cover the Mercedes launch or whatever. It's just we all say, do we want to do this, and kind of organise it between ourselves. And I think that's a really good thing, and it's like an event in my week, especially at the moment where I'm not exactly my social life isn't bouncing. It kind of becomes quite a big event in the week just doing this, and I do really like that.
I really look forward to these. I really look forward to editing them. I really look forward to uploading them and sharing them, and I find it it's not for the achievement. It's just really good fun. It's really good fun.
Yeah, definitely. The bits as well, which the public, the audience won't see the bits after and before as well. It's all great.
I think the
mindless chat, and it's lovely.
Yeah, when we're not recording is as good, if not as F1 related, as the conversations when it's on. But on that note, like, I think just a shout out to Freddie for like all he does after, because I think mine and Nigel's job on this kind of ends when we stop recording, really. And then we kind of retweet it, but that's it. But Freddie does, edit it all together and come up with a very good thumbnail and title that we normally never have any input in. So he
don't let you.
That's why he's allowed to tweet whatever he wants about me afterwards.
Okay. I thought I was treading on toes when I did that. But all right, I'll just do what I want. Thank you. That's very kind of you, Adam.
Yeah, you can. I mean, we've both got the password to the account, so
yeah, you can tweet what you want about me in return.
We might have a bit of a tennis match going on here.
You just don't retaliate. It's mad.
Yeah, I don't retaliate. Yeah.
On that note, you can follow us on Twitter at wingingitf1, where we all every now and again will post just completely random remarks, to be honest, because we all have our own Twitter accounts, which are on the screen if you're watching it. But if you're not watching it, I will say them out now. I'm at Fred Coates 1999. Adam is at Adam Dickinson 01, and Nigel is at Nigel C Journo. We all have those accounts where we spout rubbish or tend to be quite really decent opinions. Adam did a really fantastic thing last night where he shared what a rugby journalist had said, having a go at student journalists, and what Adam said there was actually really fantastic about how hard it is for people to break into journalism at the moment and that kind of thing. Nigel writes amazing work for Racing 365, the launch of one of the biggest Dutch sites globally now. They've got an English site, and Nigel is one of their basically scouted founding recruits for that site, and he writes tons of stuff on there, and he's got a couple of features coming up soon, and they're all going to be fantastic. So yeah, just keep an eye out on those, and you can listen to this on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. You can go to Acast, who are our podcast provider, who we wouldn't be able to do this without, not that they give us anything, but just because we wouldn't know what we're doing if it wasn't a very simple software. And you can obviously watch the video on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces, and mine, and then we can just...
You got that in just before me.
Yeah. Adam is flexing his Preston North End shirt right at the moment. So make sure you go and give so much abuse to Preston North End whenever they're playing.
They won yesterday, 3-0 for Huddersfield.
3-0 against Huddersfield. Fair enough.
Going up. We are actually.
They're going to win the Premier League.
People say it's a joke, but we are actually legitimately going to get promoted. Potts, Evans, Sinclair. Nailed it.
Nigel, do you have any Wigan remarks to counter the Preston?
Not really. It's rugby league up here, so it's a bit different, isn't it? Rugby league.
Rugby league. I don't have any sport apart from motorsport, but
yeah, for the last lap, Ferrari, you've done some great stuff recently in Ferrari, absolutely smashing it with 20 articles probably for the last 20 days or something.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Including a little bit of help from Adam as well with the predictions and the rest of the last lap team.
Yeah, thank you to the last lap team. We've got a lot of Formula E content out to start the Formula E season. We haven't spoken about it today, but the second race in Diriyah was a really good race, but it had a really bit of a shaky ending for me personally, and presume just because of the connection I have with Formula E and the people there. I sort of did a bit of had a bit of catharsis on last lap after that, because that was a bit of a sort of shaky evening. But yeah, thanks guys. I think this podcast is fantastic for our self-esteem. So yeah, check us out everywhere. We'll be back later on in the week to have a complete livery special, because Formula One is back for 2021. This is going out in March. We're in the month of the first Grand Prix of the year. Testing is weeks away, not long now. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Nigel. You've been a pleasure as always. Everybody, stay safe and have an excellent day. Goodbye.
Bye.